Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business series, What Are You Good At? With my co-host, Jeff Gunsberg, with Title Connect. Jeff, good to see you. Looking forward to talking with Alisa Sparks. Alisa, looking forward to talking to you too. You're the founder and CEO of Linden Creek. You're a luxury interior design and home staging franchise built around elevated living and meaningful design. All right, so I was really intrigued when, and you can learn more about linden-creek.com. I was really intrigued when you kind of came across my email to be a guest on the show, because you don't typically hear of this type of company being a franchise. And so I was really looking forward to diving in, because I think a lot of companies today wonder, God, I have this great concept. I have this great idea. There's a demand for it. A, this could be a good franchise. B, I have no clue how to start a franchise. C, I may be too small, not that your business is small, to be a franchise. So to me, I was hoping this could be a little bit of a master's class. And but let's just start from the beginning. So this series is called What Are You Good At? And so we'll get into all of that we just talked about. But how did you know you were good at this? And then how did you know you were good at franchising?
Yeah, great questions. So my background is actually finance. I supported Department of Defense for a decade and managed naval aircraft budgets, but had this passion for all things creative. So I would buy ugly houses in my free time, work a couple years, renovate them, flip them, sell them, build furniture. It was just like a fulfillment of my passion. And the day hit where I decided I wanted to build something of my own. And so going for the passion decision felt like the smartest decision, because I didn't know what else to do. How do you translate naval aircraft budgets into entrepreneurship? That's a little bit more challenging. And so I got into home staging. It felt very natural. I studied the design world really by studying what other designers did that was good, and looking at it from a mathematical perspective, because that's how my brain is wired. So I would kind of ask the question of, why does this space look beautiful? Well, it's because we've balanced these shapes, these sizes, paired these things and textures together. And I'd find common patterns, and then I'd replicate them in my designs and realize that's what worked. And so unintentionally, as a way to educate myself, I found myself creating systems around how to design. And then when I would hire employees, I would teach them the systems that I learned, because it worked. And next thing you know, I had replicated myself over and over again within my team, because they were able to apply those same systems to the way they designed every day.
I feel like it's a huge leap, right? From what you were doing into this. Did it just start with you enjoying that and doing it yourself? What was the catalyst to propel you from enjoying doing it yourself into actually making it a profession? I think it's really important for the Think community to kind of hear what your mindset was at the time when you made that choice to create something real out of your own thought. Because I feel like a lot of people hear that in their own brain, and they start to realize I really enjoy doing this, but they don't really know how to take that leap into making this their career, So I'm just curious, maybe if you could step back and give a little step-by-step of what that looked like.
Absolutely. Well, I will tell you, when I thought about entrepreneurship, I thought I want to be an interior designer, but I didn't have the interior design degree. And so I had this belief there's no way I could do it. And I was in the process of selling one of the properties we flipped, and the feedback that we kept getting was the staging is really good, but it wasn't staging. It was my furniture that I had collected over the years that I had designed in a way to make the home look beautiful. And it was that aha moment for me of, maybe I can't be a designer, but I bet I could start a staging company that doesn't require the degree. And I'll be honest, Jeff, you talked about but then how do you know that it can be a business and it works?
Yeah.
I had all those questions. And so for me, my journey was, let me test this concept. And so I kept my full-time safe job. I would take time off on Fridays, and I would knock on doors to try to get in front of the real estate agents and the builders in the community.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
Do you have interest in this service? What does that look like? Is there value there? And I'd spend my Saturdays building out systems and figuring out how I wanted my pricing to work, and doing the work on the weekends, spending my Fridays in front of clients. I got a few projects under my belt. I figured out if there was actually true market interest, and then hit a place about 4 months into that process of going, there's so much demand that either I have to quit my full-time job and we're going to jump, or I need to say that this staging thing isn't going to be what I'm going to do. But
Right.
for me, that was the safest way to transition, because I already had a little bit of a book of business at that point. I knew that there was a market opportunity and a good fit for my market, because the market was saying yes before I had to just like jump full-fledged and hope that it was going to work.
That's great. That's a great story. I want to just talk a little bit more about that. Success leaves clues, and so many things are pattern based, hidden in plain sight, and a lot of us just kind of don't pay attention to that. I in December started playing chess. I never played before, and chess is a game of patterns. That's it. There's just tons and tons and tons of patterns. Overlay that to a business, a large percentage of things in business, to your point, are patterns. Reverse engineer that. Many people don't even know how to get started. They don't know what to do now. They don't know what to do next. And that kind of repeats itself over and over again, which is why if you can hand them systems and patterns, it works. So my question is, the trial and error of finding the patterns for your industry, for your business, that become a through line to, 80, 90% of what you're doing. So how long did it take you to figure out the patterns for your business?
I would say the pattern recognition specifically in design was pretty fast. It was 1-2 years and we had really created these systems. But what was interesting to me is there's pattern recognition for your industry, but there's also pattern recognition for business as a whole. Business is business no matter what industry you are in. And so what was interesting is I started this company thinking I was going to spend my free time thinking always about, how do I want to pair these pillows together? What sofa is going to look best in this room? But that's not what I was doing in my free time. I was going, how do we generate more sales? How do we handle the marketing piece of it? Are there new ad opportunities or paid ads that can give us, a lift? And all of a sudden I realized that business ownership oftentimes has nothing to do with your industry. It has everything to do with business ownership and being a business owner. And so then it became, let's build a playbook and let's create a strategy around the operations, around the systems, around the sales, around hiring. What are you looking for in those employees to make them successful in each role? And then the playbook got built around that. And I think, leading into the franchising conversation, that's why franchising works, is because it's just as much a playbook on the back end things that your customer never sees. It has to make you successful and profitable, as it is the front end industry facing part of it.
So you mentioned patterns and you mentioned habits. Like what was the leap for you to realize that you could franchise something like this? From what you were doing, I mean, I feel like it came like from like enjoyment of like something that you really liked, and like it were interested in doing. Like how did that, how did those habits and then like the identification, exactly happen for you to say, what, like other people could do this? And then from there, how did you identify like what the actual patterns are now here that you could duplicate?
Yeah. So about 5 years into owning Linden Creek, I remember sitting down. It was like a Monday. It was a holiday. Had the day off, and I was sitting on my couch, and I looked at my prior week, and I was like, my team did not need me. Like everything they were handling, all the day-to-day, the sales, the operations, the fulfillment, like they crushed it. My clients didn't know if I was in the house or if it was somebody else. And I was like, well, that's interesting. And then I looked at the week ahead and I had the same takeaway. I was like, I could not show up next week and no one's going to even like miss a beat. I'm adding zero value to my organization at this point. Right. And most people see that moment and they're like, you've arrived. Like, this is amazing. Go on vacation forever. Right. But I love working. And so I kind of panicked and I was like, what do I do? What do I do next that's going to get me excited about it? Where do I go from here? And as I'm kind of asking the what do I do question, at the time we were getting a bunch of messages on Instagram from other home stagers throughout the country and other designers going, how are you handling your pricing objections? What are you doing to better store your artwork so it's not getting damaged? All of these unique questions specific to the industry. And I remember watching others in the industry struggle because they focused so heavily on the design that they'd forget about the business side. They didn't pay attention to their P&Ls. They didn't pay attention to their costs. And it was this aha moment for me that there's this missed opportunity where people are just looking for answers. They're looking for strategy. They're looking for kind of the boring part of business that is actually the logistics and the glue that makes it happen. And not necessarily intentionally, but we had built those systems and those things out. And so originally I thought, hey, maybe coaching, maybe we can create courses. Like, what can this look like? And a friend of mine who's owns a franchise in a totally different business model said, have you thought about franchising? And I laughed at him. I was like, that doesn't work in a creative space. Like, you can't systematize creativity, right? And then I started diving into it more and I was like, we systemized our creativity. I just never realized it. And we have systems and SOPs for everything we do. And that's exactly what a franchise is. And so as I started to explore that journey and meet with others in the franchising industry, what we realized is we really had a playbook that I knew other people were looking for. Because in my instance, there were other individuals like me that are coming from a corporate background that are excited to build their own business, that want the head start, right? That don't want to make as many mistakes as I did when they got started. And so that, to me, is why franchising made sense. Because it's not just here's a playbook, but I'm going to coach you alongside this for the next 10 years while we do this together.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's great.
So I have a question on that, because so now you are on the path to package everything up, and now marketing for your business is one thing, and now marketing to buy a franchise is another.
Yeah.
And so talk about the first couple of steps of how you did that, getting your first handful of clients in that world, because I think that's kind of where people want to say, okay, I get where you're talking about so far. If I'm listening right now, I'm thinking somebody may be thinking, all right, I hear that, but now how did you package it and productize it for somebody?
Now what?
Buy it and take it off the shelf. And then what did you learn the first 5 sales? And then how did you, evolve and pivot from there?
Yeah, great question. Well, what's interesting about franchising is it is a totally different business model. So you're like, cool, I know how to have a staging and design company, but a franchising business is totally different. If there is one thing I've learned over the years, it's let me hire people that are so much smarter than me and learn from their expertise. So I brought in a franchise consultant into the picture and I said, how do I do this? What does this look like? And does this even work? And so the first step is to build a formal operations manual. And so I remember locking myself in my office for like 2 weeks straight. The document was like 65 pages when it was done. And I was like, I have covered every aspect of what we do. Like, I've nailed it. This is fantastic. I submitted up to him. And about a week later, he comes back and he's like, that's a great start, Alisa. And then had like 7 pages of things that I had missed, topics I had not covered. And by the time I did iteration number 2, my ops manual was over 300 pages. And so step 1 is document and build every ounce of what's in your brain and what systems even exist and checklists already exist and put it on paper. But the caveat to that is bring in an expert. There is so much involved in this that if you can learn from somebody else in the industry, it's going to save you thousands of dollars later on from mistakes that you otherwise made. Yeah. So that for me was really step 1, but marketing and finding those people is challenging. For me, when I made the decision to franchise, my director of home staging, who was managing our client relationships and sales, said, Alisa, I've always wanted to relocate to Charlotte. I know you're franchising. Can I be your first franchisee? And they say in the franchising community, typically your very first sale is somebody you already know or somebody that's working in or with the brand in some way. And so I was so excited about that. She rolled out in Charlotte. And for the first year, before we even really openly told people we were franchising, I just let her roll because I wanted to test this concept. I wanted to make sure she could replicate my results. I wanted to make sure that where she was having pain points, we could fix it before we put it in front of somebody else. And at the end of the 12 months, she had 3x'd what I did in my first year. And I went, holy crap, this works, and this works better than I thought.
Right.
And so then all of a sudden you have a case study, right? Like you have a success from somebody outside of just me that can share that. And that was really valuable. And then it just came down to deciding how you wanted to build out the growth strategy. In franchising, it typically is two ways. It's either paid ads or there are brokers out there that'll help you sell your franchise model. And so we took the paid ads route and slowly built a marketing team around that and worked with a marketing team for that, built out a sales team dedicated to that. But each of those steps was a learning process. It takes so much more time and so much more money than, of course, you ever anticipate. But it's been a journey worth taking.
Great.
Yeah, God, that's great. I mean, I think like understanding first off and having the open mind to know that you don't know it all, right? Like at the beginning of the process, it's like leverage other people who might have, something of value to provide to you. And, you obviously did that and brought on people who knew what you didn't know and helped you kind of define, like what you were trying to do. Utilizing the resources that you have is a huge piece of any business out there, right? And I commend you because it's hard, like when you start a business and you are everything to it and you're doing all that stuff, it's hard for a lot of people, it's very hard to realize that, like maybe there's somebody else out there that can help me through this whole process. I'm curious how you really started, diving into that and like just knowing right away that like there was somebody else out there that needed to help you. Like, what was the thought process in your brain that like told you like I can't do this?
Yeah, I think you have two options.
Yeah.
I think you have two
it's
options.
hard. It's hard.
It is hard, but there are two options. It's either I can figure this out myself, and that's always a solution, but I'm going to make really expensive mistakes and it's going to take way longer. Or I'm going to learn from somebody and lean on somebody or pay somebody to give me the expertise to get me there faster.
Yeah.
And so for me, I always see that there is my lack of knowledge on whatever this new venture might be, right? That's a cost. And I'm either going to pay for it financially, but get there sooner and make less mistakes, or I'm going to pay for it in my time and in my mistakes. And in this instance, for me, it was a no-brainer of I'm going to hire an expert. And I make that choice again and again in my life, as I think so many people should, is your business, whether you're going from zero to I'm going to open doors, or you're, have a lot of doors open and want to keep scaling, there are new levels that you need to kind of level up in your professional career. And you can figure out those answers technically, but it's a rocky road. And so if you can hire a mentor or a business coach or get somebody in to give you that guidance of these are the next things you're watching out for, that is the thing that's going to allow you to grow at a much faster rate than everybody else.
Yeah. I know one.
Yeah.
His name's Sean Boskin.
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's my business coach and having a sounding board for myself and, somebody to lean on and help provide me clarity in times of that are not so clear, I think is very helpful. So bouncing things off other people and utilizing, whoever you have in your corner is huge.
Yeah. A question for you. So
Sure.
When I agree, I think I love everything you just said because I kind of call those, if you do it the wrong way, expensive seminars, right?
It's very expensive. Yeah.
But you have everything very well articulated now, but what was your biggest mistake and what did you learn from that mistake?
I think my biggest mistake was thinking that it was going to be easy and thinking that it was only going to cost us much. Like thinking I was going to learn and figure this out way faster than I did. Is the real life part.
Mine too.
Every business owner feels like that,
that's like
right?
with a lot of stuff I do. I think like my wife was like, "Oh, we need to clean the basement." I'm like, "I think it's 20 minutes."
This seems simple.
Yeah.
Like here's like the thing, and like it seems pretty simple. Okay, great. Yeah. And then it's never that way.
Well, too like simple. You made a comment earlier. We were talking about how long it took. You're like, oh, it wasn't too bad, 1 to 2 years. But I think for a lot of people, if they listen to that, they're like 1 to 2 years.
They don't really, 1 to 2 years.
That's
what?
A long time. Right.
Yeah.
And so my question there to kind of piggyback off of that answer is, what did you do? And this is kind of also based on something Jeff asked earlier. What did you do through, so you anticipate, I'm putting words in your mouth, but you anticipate, all right, it'll take 3 months, but it takes 18 months. How did you mentally get through every time you thought maybe this is not worth it? Like, how did you keep on getting through those moments?
Yeah, I heard somewhere a phrase that basically said, you have two choices as a business owner. You give up and then you failed, or you just simply don't give up and eventually you win. And so I'll honestly, every time I'm in that, like, let's push through and figure this out, and this is taking longer and this is costing more capital, I go back to that phrase and I think I have two choices right now. Like, I can close my doors and go, forget it, this is too hard. Let me, pivot and do something else or give up on this idea. Or I just keep pushing through. But if this is hard for me, this is also hard for everybody else that's trying to go on the same journey. And most of them give up, which is why they don't get to where I want to go. And so I just keep reminding myself that the fact that this is hard reduces the number of people that are going to try to take this journey. And if I make it to the other side, which I will, because I just won't let myself fail, then we win and we figure this thing out. And I think, Elon Musk has a quote that he came out with like the last year or so, something along the lines of like, owning a business is like swallowing shards of glass. And I think about that oftentimes and I laugh and I go, in those moments where it's like, this is really trying, this is really hard, this is not easy. You think about, this brilliant man that has built these massive empire of businesses, and he goes, it's hard, it's like swallowing shards of glass. You go, okay, like pain doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. Right. Like, and pain doesn't mean I'm doing it wrong. Pain probably means I'm on the right course of action and I'm solving a problem most other people aren't willing to tolerate and put up with. So let's keep pushing through.
Yeah. There's one word that kind of comes to my mind when I hear you speak. And I think it's desire, right? Like, if you desire to be somewhere, which to me is like the full extent of like, like you want it, you're willing to work for it, you're going to put everything on the line for it because this is your burning desire to like create something. I think you don't fail. I mean, really what happens is, like you end up putting yourself on the line, but you're not willing to accept, or not put in the work to get to that particular point. And in my business, I desire to make it succeed. I think it's a lot more pain than sometimes I want, and goes on a regular basis. And it's a constant battle to change, improve, then, you adjust people, and there's a whole host of all of it. But if like everyone listening here understands the fact that like, if you have a desire to really do something, you can do it. And I think you're a really nice example of how that can happen. So I'm glad you're on today to kind of demonstrate that, if you're not willing to give up and you have this real need inside yourself to succeed and do something different than others are doing, it all works out one way or the other. It ends up working out, and I think it's great. Yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I love it. Yeah.
So I agree.
Yeah.
All right, speed round. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. A book
We're shooting the
that's
speed
had a
round.
big impact on you.
Sorry, say that again.
A book that's had a big impact on you.
Oh gosh, 10x is better than 2x.
So
Massive
good.
fan of that one.
That book is so good. All of Dan Sullivan's books that he did with Ben. I don't know why his name is escaping me, but 10x better than 2x is a great one. Who Not How, I'll also add to that, is another great one by Dan Sullivan. Those two are two of my favorites. Yeah. Those are great.
Best piece of advice you got during the franchise model process?
Good question. There's a saying by a veteran in the industry, his name is David Barr, that says your franchise model needs to work for the average person with the average drive, with the average intelligence. And if it doesn't work for that average person, you didn't build a model strong enough. So go back and rebuild it.
That's great. That's great advice.
That's great.
For everything. Wow. That's great. I love that.
If you're selling something to people, right? Like, I think it's really important to think that way.
Yeah.
Right. Like, how do you get everyone to use it? So I think that's great.
There's something called the curse of knowledge. And what it talks about is that on a scale from 1 to 10, people buy it a 2, maybe a 3. If you start to get higher than that, they just unplug. They don't buy. And people's attention spans, this was years ago, the stat is less than a goldfish of 7 seconds. So that's like my new favorite. I'm gonna have to re-listen and quote you on all that.
I tell my wife that I know too much information, and then she brings me back down to earth.
Yeah.
Says you're an idiot.
All right, I have a last question. The best advice a mentor gave you before the age of 15 that you carry with you today?
Oh. This is a new one.
Question. That's a good one.
It's a new one.
I like it.
I think the best advice I would say is like, whatever you do it with everything that you have. And that's something that goes into your personal life as you get married and have children. It goes into your professional life and the work and the quality you do.
Yeah, that's great.
Amazing.
That's great. This was a great talk.
Wonderful.
Tell everybody who your ideal clients are and where they can connect with you, Alisa.
Yeah, if you are interested in franchise opportunities, check us out at linden-creek.com/franchise. We are looking for like-minded business professionals that want to make a pivot. They want to make a jump, but they'd rather have the playbook and get there faster. Or if you're just looking for staging or design needs, you can check us out at linden-creek.com, and we're happy to serve you as well.
And do you serve people all over the country?
We are all over the country-ish. We're primarily on the East Coast, but as far west as Texas right now. So there's a very good chance there's a location open near you.
But if somebody wanted you in a place you're not located, will they be able to work with you?
They still can for interior design services. So we can certainly support those long distance routes if we need to.
Wonderful.
This was a pleasure. I think this
Likewise.
I think what you've done, you took your passion, you took fulfillment, you took your talent, you took a side hustle, you beta tested it, you made sure that people actually wanted it, you listened to your clientele, you beta tested to see if it worked, you have case studies so you could share it with people, and congratulations. The barrier to entry is very, very difficult, although from the outside looking in, someone could say it's easy, which we define today. Nothing is easy. It always takes a little bit longer to do it the right way. And you're doing things great. I was really looking forward to this talk today. And selfishly, I love these because I learned a ton, and I learned a ton today.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah. Yes. So this was
great.
I appreciate your insights and what you've built, and wish you continued great success. Jeff, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think that, we talk about habits and understanding of how to operate and identifying for yourself, like what you like and what, field you might want to go into. And the jump between understanding all of those things and what you like, and actually taking it to the next level and putting it into action is huge. And you're an example of that. And I think it's so great. I'm really looking forward to people hearing this, because I think everyone thinks it's so hard to, do that. And it is, but it's also making that choice for yourself and understanding that like that's what I want for me. And then you put the steps into action as to how you want to do that. And the identification is huge, and getting to that point is hard, but it's also not impossible. And you are definitely a demonstration of that. So we thank you, Alisa, for being on.
But I want to end with one thing. A lot of times when I will do a keynote or sometimes a workshop or training, I share with people this riddle. Jeff, I think you've heard this before.
I think so, probably.
5 frogs are sitting on a log and 4 decide to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? And everybody, most people all say 1 frog, but the answer is 5 frogs. And the reason is because they decided they didn't take action. And I think for the through line of today is, understand your talents, understand your passion. If you are intrinsically connected to it and you want more freedom in your life and fulfillment, then take action on it. And it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens if you just keep going. And I think
invest in yourself.
Correct.
Like if you feel comfortable and very confident about whatever your idea might be, invest in yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody better than that.
Right.
Amen.
That's right.
All right. Any closing thoughts, Alisa?
Just a massive thank you, both of you, for this conversation. It's so fun to get to share the values, the conversations, the authenticity behind the grind that oftentimes we don't get to be transparent about. So thank you.
Great. All right. Linden-creek.com. Thanks so much. This was awesome. Loved it. Thanks so much. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Alisa.
Thanks all.